So, for instance, when he says, yours is a $5 trillion cut, well, no, it's not, because I'm offsetting some of the reductions with holding down some of the deductions.
And Governor, I gotta actually, I need to have you both hang up. I understand the stakes here. I understand both of you, but I will get run out of town if I don't allow
you, Mr. President, I just described to you precisely how I do it, with a single number that people can put, and they can put their deductions and credits into that bucket.
Mr. President, we're keeping track, I promise you. And Mr. President.
Did you catch that? Did you see what happened there? That's something we saw a lot of last night. A lot of like, what? What the heck was going on there? President Obama, Mitt Romney talking over each other, talking over the moderator, Candy Crowley. None of us could hear a thing. It turns out people don't really like that. Big surprise. You know those squiggly lines that you see on the bottom of the screen during the debate that show voters reacting in real time to what they're hearing? In those moments last night, those guys were flatlining. In their effort to be heard and to make those points heard, the exact opposite was happening. And we want to bring in someone who knows a thing or two about strategy for debates and how to prep for debates. Frank Donatelli, who helped prep President Reagan back in 1984, Bob Dole in 1996, currently the GOPAC chairman. Frank, first of all, I had a conversation just before you came on the air with Dana Bash, who knows a thing or two about covering debates. Many of us feel like we've never seen anything like this before. We're not entirely sure that we loved what we saw. I'm curious as to find out if you feel that viewers and voters will love what they saw.
Ashley, it was a very aggressive debate last night, and I think there are two things at play here. Number one, we're 20 days from the voting, and it's a dead-even election, and you see the stakes involved there. Neither man wants to back down or be perceived as backing down. The second thing is that there's been an evolution in the format of these debates over the years. You'll notice that last night there were no restraints on either man. They had a microphone. They could walk all around the stage. They could, as you said, invade the other person's space, and they just went at it. People do seem to like the idea of a more robust candidate-to-candidate interaction. The old way of doing things would have been to have had both of them on opposite sides of the stage, at lecterns and a panel of questioners where there is much less opportunity for interaction. So that's just the other side of it.
It just feels like we've come full circle in cable news and in debates as well. Once upon a time, everybody liked their news from Cronkite, and now they seem to like Glenn Beck. Let me show you something from last night. I referred to those squiggly lines, and that's the voter meter, the instant response that voters have. I want our viewers now to look at some of the material that they were watching last night, but I want to draw everyone's attention to those lines and what happens when things get ugly. Have a look.
In the last 4 years, you cut permits and licenses on federal land and federal waters in half.
Not true, Governor Romney.
So how much did you cut them by?
Not true.
By how much did you cut them by then?
Governor, we have actually produced more oil.
No. How much did you cut licenses and permits on federal land and federal waters?
Governor Romney, here's what we did. There were a whole bunch of oil companies.
No, I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer
How much did you cut them by?
I'm happy to answer the question.
All right.
I think you could see it as well as I could see it. That's what you call a flat line, and that in hospital speak is not healthy. If you were prepping debate candidates now, Frank, would you recommend that this works because you can fire up your base this way and get out the vote? Or would you say, I think we can take a different tack and even get maybe some of those undecideds that we might need?
Well, debate should be about trying to get undecideds because you have such an enormous audience, and a lot of these viewers are occasional voters at best, and this is your best opportunity to reach them. So you always say that you want to do whatever you can to appeal to the independent voters, and those lines that you see and the concepts that are tested constantly by both campaigns are designed to appeal primarily to independents. That being said, again, what you don't want to appear to be is not aggressive and not defending your viewpoint and be perceived as backing down. Because if there's one thing that you don't want to lose in these debates is this idea of leadership. The American public values leadership above all. So sometimes you wind up having some voters say, well, I'm turned off by this because you don't want to appear to be backing down.
Frank, you must have been a teenager when you were prepping President Reagan. Thank you very much for your time today and your perspectives. I appreciate it.